Alright, so it has been a hot minute since I did a video, and that feels really weird. Sorry about that. Sorry about disappointing. Yes, being disappointing. Sorry for disappearing for a little bit. I went on vacation and promptly got sick, and then continued being sick. So I was coughing a lot, I did not really have a voice, and just was not feeling well. And then I get back into going to work and doing things and reality, and still was just ended up in a hole of not really giving a fuck. Pretty much. And asking myself why. Why do I make videos? Why do I bother doing anything? What is the point of any of this? Just not fun times, basically. But here I am, making some kind of video, because in this thinking, I've also taken the time to think about stuff and realize I do like making these, even if a lot of the times it feels like I'm just screaming into the void and no one's really engaging with me or watching or paying attention or things. And I know maybe some of that's my fault because I'm not always that good with keeping up with people and interacting as well. I'm not always good with that, and it gets harder to do that when mentally I'm not feeling shipshape. So yeah, anyway, sorry for disappearing for a little bit, and I guess, yeah, I'd like to still put these out, and you know, because some of you are apparently watching, so that's nice. Anyway, I do still owe you guys, I guess, my thoughts on the couple of books that I read in September. I'm not quite up to date on my notes yet, but hopefully I'll have that ready coming up soon. But I did just want to ease back in with something kind of fun to think about, or a little bit bookish to think about, sort of. Over the summer, basically, I read the entirety of what's out right now for the Lady Hardcastle mystery series by T.E. Kinsey. I know you guys have probably heard me talk about this way too much over the past several months, but basically it is a series that follows Lady Emily Hardcastle and her lady's maid companion best friend, Florence Armstrong. All of the books are told from Flo's point of view. Basically, they're both very unconventional women. Flo was raised in a circus, and she ended up going into service, and she ends up, her previous service job, she was caught reading in the library, but the master of the house pretty much actually didn't mind that. He liked that she had a thirst for knowledge and she liked reading, and he would encourage that. And then she ended up getting the job with Lady Hardcastle, and Lady Hardcastle's husband was a diplomat, so, or like ambassador or whatever, so they ended up going overseas a lot, and at some point, unfortunately, Lady Hardcastle's husband is murdered, and her and Flo need to go on the run, pretty much, and try to figure out how to get their way back to England, and that really broke down that kind of employer-servant line between the two of them, and changed their relationship entirely, really made them close friends who depended on each other. And they're also, like, yeah, incredibly skilled. Like, Flo ends up learning martial arts while she's over there. She's also a skilled knife thrower, very skilled with blades, because her father in the circus she was raised in was a knife thrower, and trained her and her siblings how to, you know, do that. And Lady Hardcastle is very unconventional. She was one of the first women to get, like, she couldn't get a full degree in college, but she was able to, like, get, like, take science classes, and she's very learned in that. She's very analytical and smart, and she's also a crack shot with a pistol, and they're both just very quirky and unconventional for their times, and very independent and funny, and yeah, their relationship is more like friends than kind of employer and servant, and they move in the beginning of book one, A Quiet Life in the Country. They move to the country because they have been spending their past several years kind of working for the government a little bit, undercovery sort of stuff, and they just want to retire. They just want this quiet life where they can relax and be domestic for a while and have their own pursuits. Like Flo wants to read, you know, she wants to spend her time doing that kind of thing, getting used to country life, and Lady Hardcastle has other pursuits. She's very interested in moving pictures, which kinematography is like fairly new-ish at that point. She's very interested in that kind of thing. Basically what would be known as stop motion now. She's very interested in those kind of things, very interested in like varying little projects like that. And unfortunately, they're not there that long when they get pulled into a mystery because a man is found dead, hanging from a tree. And at first, the local constables think, oh, easy, suicide. And Lady Hardcastle and Flo both point out, yeah, but based on the evidence here, it looks like he actually was purposefully killed. And it turns out they were correct. He was purposefully killed, and then they get drawn into that mystery, and so on and so forth. They get drawn into a series of mysteries, and some of them take place in their area and some of them take place in other areas. It's all involving like really interesting historical things going on. And the last couple of books, I think we're in 1912 in the last couple of books that have come out, and you can see where things are really starting to ramp up towards World War I. We're hearing about some of the unrest, we're hearing worries that other people have, especially people who work within the government, about what's going to happen. And if I'm correct, because World War I is not one of my particular historical interests, so I can't be quite certain, but I believe it started in 1914. For Europe, anyway. America didn't get involved until, what was that, 1917, I think is when we got involved. Yeah, that's basically that. Everything's starting to gear up towards that. Anyway, long story short, a lot of information that I've given you. I was just kind of like thinking in my head about like adaptations of things, because we've been hearing, oh, we're getting some adaptations of these things, this thing's going on, like all that stuff. Of course, there's 5 million adaptations of Agatha Christie stuff right now. Anyway, thinking about adaptations, I was thinking to myself, what would be my like dream fan cast of an adaptation of the T.E. Kinsey mysteries? Like what would I love to see? Who would I love in my head? Who would I love to play these characters? Who do I think would be the best ones? And of course, I am coming at this as someone who is a millennial and is not really on the up and up with a lot of like younger people that everybody knows who the fuck they are at this point. So I'm coming at this as who I'm picturing in my head, of like possibly age appropriate for the characters, potentially. I don't know, that's what I'm thinking in my head. I tried to focus mostly on the main people that are in either all of the books or a lot of the books. We have to cast Lady Hardcastle and Flo, obviously. So I was trying to think of who would be that actress who could really just handle Lady Hardcastle. And I had a few thoughts. And one of the thoughts is an actress who I can just picture as being perfect. However, she is a little bit older than technically Lady Hardcastle is. So I do have her in here for another one of the characters, because I think she'd also be good in that part too. But I was really trying to think of someone, okay, who's at the appropriate, like, age level, who's definitely now kind of, like, older. She's definitely, like, middle-aged, getting around, doing stuff, totally believable to be, like, going off and doing shit. Has that kind of, like, beauty and grace that can be, like, believable as an aristocratic lady, but at the same time have that, like, fire in her that is also believable to just be, besides hilarious, no nonsense, and will definitely cut a bitch if she needs to, if the situation calls for it. And who came to mind for Emily Hardcastle was Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet is honestly one of the most beautiful women out there, and is someone who I think, just as a child of the 90s who grew up with fucking Titanic promos all over the place, I'm like thinking that she does have that, like, ability to hold herself in a certain way, but also can totally believably not take any shit and get down and dirty if she needs to get the job done. I could 100% believe her as, like, super intelligent, inquisitive Lady Hardcastle. And then, of course, I had to think of Flo. Who would be her appropriate companion? Who would be someone who could be, like, that charming and helpful person who could slide into, like, the servant things, but still, like, look at you out of the corner of her eye and say something completely snarky, but capable, and maybe someone you would forget in the corner, perhaps, if she was dressed in, like, servant's garbs at the time in the Edwardian period, but definitely would still be someone who could kick ass in more than one way. And the obvious answer was Emilia Clarke. This is the motherfucking mother of dragons. I'm like, of course she could hit a dude with a knife at, like, 20 paces and knock a gun out of his hand. Like, obviously. This is... duh. Plus, I could see her dropping that sarcasm and just bantering back and forth with Lady Hardcastle. Like, I feel like those two together with the banter would be hilarious. Then we move into their household. So they have Edna, who is the not really housekeeper, not really housemaid. She's kind of older, but she doesn't also want to be known as the housekeeper or have that kind of, like, responsibility. So I was thinking about her and I was like, okay, who is, like, an older person who could be probably kind of funny, but also have that kind of face that would be like, we're gonna get shit done. And who came to mind was Imelda Staunton. I was, like, really thinking about it and, like, really, like, looking through British actresses, like, everything. I was like, okay, who would be the good one? And Imelda Staunton came to mind. Like, honestly, I think the only thing I've seen her in was the Harry Potter movies, and I hated her character. But I think that's probably what makes her a really good actress, to be that fucking believable. And I think maybe this is, like, a smaller type of role, unless you think about it, and it's like, if anyone were to make anything, this would need to be a mini-series. Like, obviously, it would have to be, like, Poirot or, like, Marple. It would have to be a mini-series to cover all of these books. Thinking, okay, it would be kind of, like, a more smaller, inconsequential role, I suppose. But she's still, like, part of the heart of the Hardcastle Armstrong household, pretty much. And yeah, I could see her being that good, like, extra person, kind of hanging out and doing things. Also in their household, you have Blodwyn Jones, who is fairly young for her role as the household cook, but beats fucking ass at it. She is, like, they have told her before, she could be chef level, but she is perfectly happy where she is. Super talented, does like all different kinds of crazy pastry stuff. So great. And she also ends up becoming really good friends and being part of a friend group with Flo and another one of the characters I'm going to talk about. And I was like, who would be a good pal to go hang out around with? Felicity Jones. Felicity Jones, obviously. You can see that little bit of like, again, that kind of like spunk, that kind of snark that could come out, but at the same time be very, you know, joking around, stuff like that, but at the same time be very like capable, be very on top of her shit, be like in, and perfect, again, both of them I think fitting really well into this very weird household. Then we get into the town itself of Littleton Cotterell and also like other friends that they make. So you have the Farley Strouds. So there is Sir Hector and Lady Farley Stroud, which are dear friends of Lady Hardcastle, that they are older than her and knew her when she was a little girl and were better friends with like her parents. But she becomes really good friends with them, and over time they also become really good friends with Flo as well. And I was like thinking about an older quirky couple who are hilarious together, like work so well together, are absolutely hilarious together, wonderful older couple to be involved in like this very quirky friend group. And I was like, who are two older actors that I can think of who would be not only delightful in that kind of setting, but would also, I think, be wonderful, like bantering with each other and other people. And for Lady Farley Stroud, Emma Thompson. I adore Emma Thompson. I would say probably the majority of the characters I have ever seen her play. And she is who I originally thought of for Lady Hardcastle, but then I realized at this juncture she might be getting up there a little bit more than what would be the correct like age range maybe for Emily Hardcastle. But I think for Lady Farley Stroud, I think she's got that. I think she would be perfect for that character. And who would be perfect for Sir Hector, her husband, who is goofy and very like what kind of like silly manor owner dude, very funny, kind of drunk a lot, like just absolutely ridiculous, but with a heart of gold. I was like, who would be good for that part? And Bill Nighy was of course the perfect one who came to mind. I think he has got that kind of goofy weirdness about him, because okay, so what else have we seen him in? So I'm thinking he was interesting in Pirates of the Caribbean, but that is like a underworld. Harry Potter. You know, he was in Love Actually and whatever. Pirates of the Caribbean, okay? But those aren't necessarily the roles that I was thinking of where he is perfect for Sir Hector. What I actually thought of is Emma. So the adaptation of Emma that came out just a few years ago, and he played her dad, and minus the hypochondria of Emma's father, I'm that like doddering goofiness, I think if that was minus the hypochondria and just add some alcohol, perfect. I think just absolutely perfect for, I think, Sir Hector, really. Then in the town itself, getting more into like the town and like other like people kind of around the outskirts, I didn't really get fully in depth into, at this point, into all of the random people, like some of the shop owners and like other employees of the Farley Strouds and everything. I might think a little bit more on it and try to come up with who I think are better for those, but other like very specific person in the town, or another specific like couple of people within the town itself, are Daisy Spratt, who her parents own the local butchers, and she is also the one of the bartenders at the local pub, and she becomes best pals with Flo and also with Blodwyn. And I was like, okay, we need someone who can be hilarious and, you know, kind of hilarious and capable and boisterous and can keep up with everybody and just really funny, but also like probably do like some of the flirting, because there's like a lot of like flirtation stuff at that bar. Daisy is just like, you know. So I was like, okay, who would be good for that? Like, on the one hand, be able to like a stellar like bartender and like keep everybody happy in there, but also take no fucking shit if she needed to. And I was trying to think of who I could see as like a good one, especially for like, again, more of the banter with Flo and just the funny hangout kind of thing. And Maisie Williams came to mind. And I think she would be pretty great for that. Like, I haven't watched a lot of Game of Thrones because it's just too much for me, pretty much. But I did see her in the Doctor Who episode she was in. I've seen her in other things. And I just think I think she'd be able to pull off that perfect, like, attitude of Daisy Sprat. Like, I think she could embody that pretty well. And I think the banter between Daisy and Flo, I think that would be great between those two actresses. And then, of course, I'm thinking of the owner of the pub. And I'm thinking about the owner of the pub. And this might be a crazy small role for this person, but I think he would be pretty hilarious in this. I don't know, Michael Caine. He's just got that, like, I don't know, just, I love seeing him in things. He just has this overall aura of sweetness, and that's kind of what I get from Tom, who owns the pub. Like, he's very much got this, like, very sweet, accommodating kind of dude. He is always like, he's preparing everything. He's very like, okay, we're gonna take care of you. This is my place of business. We got you. You got this kind of thing. He's very like, very sweet and very, yeah, accommodating, like I said, and takes suggestions. Like, they just suggest, oh, you could do this thing, and he's like, you know what, that's not a bad idea, and he like expands his business in different ways. And I don't know, I just feel like maybe he would be like in, I know that would be like a really small role for him, but it's just, that's what I could picture him as, basically. Then looking at kind of moving outward other characters, we have Lady Hardcastle's brother, Harry Featherstonehuff, or Featherstonehuff? I don't know. Their last name is spelled really crazy. So the name looks like Featherstonehuff, but I believe it is actually pronounced Fanshawe, which makes no fucking sense, but I can't really talk like that because I live in Massachusetts and a lot of the town names here don't make fucking sense either. He is very charming and hilarious and also very, like, very much like, oh, you're my baby sister, ha ha ha, kind of thing. And he has a very playful relationship with Flo as well. But at the same time, knows what he is about and he is on his shit. And he gets serious sometimes. He has a job within, like, the British intelligence network and stuff like that. Very up there. And I was thinking about British actors. I was like, who could I buy that would have that kind of charm and silliness, but I could also buy as like, oh, this man, he could straight up fucking murk a dude if he had to. And there were a few people that came to mind, but Dan Stevens, I think, was the real standout for me. Also, the fact that looking between him and Kate Winslet, I could maybe potentially buy that they were related, perhaps. So definitely, that's who I was thinking of. And then one of the other characters that comes up at some point is Lady Lavinia, and she is also kind of like very pretty and funny and intelligent, and she does have like that little bit of like, I can rein you in, bro. And I thought, Jenna Coleman, obviously, like this, perfection. I think she would be perfect in the role of Lady Lavinia, or Lav, as she's called sometimes. And then we're moving into other like really important characters. So you have maybe silly side characters that come up more than once, but it is Barty and Skins. Barty and Skins are initially introduced in, crap, I can't remember which book. It's either the second or the third book, I believe, and they are initially introduced as part of a ragtime band. They play instruments in this ragtime band. I believe Skins is the one who plays the drums. They are a hoot and holler. But I was thinking to myself, who could I buy as being super cockney and kind of goofy, potentially goofy but charming, but just ridiculous ragtime band players at the time. So for Barty, I was like, okay, weird as this might sound, Eddie Redmayne. Like 100% I could buy him as being part of a ragtime band if it was in another time period. Like I could totally get him as being like that. Like 100%. I mean that 100% also as a compliment to Mr. Redmayne. And then I was thinking to myself, alright, well, who is his counterpart? Who would Skins be? Who would be a good guy to play Skins? And I was thinking about all these people, because Skins is especially extra charming, extra good with the ladies and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, so who am I thinking? And I'm going through like actors in my head of like actors that I had crushes on because of movies that I saw at different points. And this man came to mind. You might know him if you were a big time fan of the movie Ella Enchanted. I liked it, even though I was upset that it differed a lot from the book, but I love Anne Hathaway, and I really liked the actor who played Charm in that movie version, and I had to go with Mr. Hugh Dancy because adorable and charming, and yeah, it could definitely 100% buy him as a charming dude in a ragtime band, perhaps. And then we start moving into like the cop sphere of things, and I start really thinking about, okay, who could I buy as like all of these different like cop or cop related people. Well, first of all, we have a character who comes up at some point and begins, I'm trying to like not give spoilers about people too much, but this lady comes up at some point in the series and will continue to be a recurring character. Her name is Dinah Cottle, and she is a reporter, desperately trying to be taken seriously. And do you know who I thought of for her? I thought of Carey Mulligan. Because I have seen Carey Mulligan in multiple things at this point, and I could definitely, I think, believe that she could be a pretty socialite who is basically shirking some of her family ideals. Like, her family wants her to get married and be like this perfect little wifey, and she's like, yeah, okay, I'll do that eventually. But for right now, I'm gonna fucking make a name for myself in the newspaper. Like, I could buy that. I could definitely 100% buy that. And I think she could really pull that role off. So, and then for the cops themselves, so our cop-related things. So we have the medical examiner, who is Simon Gosling, Dr. Gosling, who Lady Hardcastle also kind of knows. And I was like thinking, alright, so he might be kind of old, but not like super old. And I'm really thinking about who would be good, who would I imagine in this role, because he does his job well, but he's also kind of, he does have his silly moments. And I was thinking about all these actors that I've seen be super duper serious, but also handle humor really well. And who came to mind is actually an actor that, even though I know he is British and he has been in other roles where I've seen him, you know, obviously British dude, but the one role that made him come to mind is actually he was playing an American cop, and it is a very short-lived cop show called Life. It only ran for 2 seasons. It is one of my favorite cop shows ever, about a police officer who he was sent away for jail for, like, I want to say 12 to 15 years or something like that, for the murder of a couple of people who were dear friends of his, but he was framed for that, and eventually it's proven that he was framed, and he gets out and decides he wants to continue being a police officer, and goes back into the force, and is basically battling the demons that he had during, like, his years in prison, and also, like, dealing with being a detective again. But at the same time, he is secretly investigating his own, like, the murder of his friends and his own the frame-up job on him, because he wants to figure out who actually did this to him, ruined his life, and killed his friends. Fucking excellent show. Excellent show. So, yeah. Anyway, Damian Lewis, he was the lead guy in that, and he did a phenomenal job. And even though this role of Dr. Gosling would be more of the medical examiner rather than an actual cop, I could see him pulling this off so well. I could see him doing a really good job with that, because he's got that serious but also that goofy side. And yeah, yeah, I think he would be good in that. Then of course we have to talk about Inspector Sunderland. And Inspector Sunderland might be just me ultimately with my wishes and dreams. Because I find Inspector Sunderland to be, he is one of my favorite characters. If there were any characters within this book's universe that I could have a crush on, it would be Inspector Sunderland. He is intelligent. He is a good dude. He looks into all of the facts. He listens to people. He doesn't take stuff at face value just because it's there. He does his job well. He listens to women. He respects the fuck out of them and sees them as his equals. He is not belittling. He is hilarious. I'm like, he thinks his wife is a queen and treats her as such, and I'm like, oh my god, be still my heart, man. So I'm like, alright, who would I pick to play him? And I'm like, man, it's gonna be James McAvoy. It's gotta be James McAvoy. I mean, silly on me, but it would have to be James McAvoy. I have such a crush on that man. I love everything he's ever been in, and it would have to be him. He would have to be Inspector Sunderland. Oliver Sunderland. That's who he is. And then of course we have the local constabulary, excuse me. We have Sergeant Dobson and Constable Hancock. I'm thinking to myself, okay, we need 2 people that are somewhat competent, if a little bit bumbling. But at the same time, they're not going to be like your total stereotypical bumbling cops in other mystery series that you'll see, because they actually do also really genuinely like Lady Hardcastle and Flo. And they are going to listen to them, and they're going to take point and realize that, hey, I'm not as experienced as these 2 ladies are, and it doesn't matter that they're ladies, they're going to get this shit done because they know what they're doing. And love it, respect it. I know that this is probably like a crazy world that would never have happened at that time, but you know what, respect to these 2 guys. They're in a small town that's experiencing a lot of murder mysteries recently. So I'm thinking to myself, who would I pick to play these 2? First of all, who came to mind, because I know he can play that bumbling kind of dude, because that's the character he plays in a lot of things that I've seen him in recently, and it would have to be Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult I could definitely see as Constable Hancock. Like, 100%. Because, like I said, he already has that kind of very goofy energy, but also capable-ish. So I could see him in that 100%. And then of course, this guy, he might not sound that familiar, really, but I kind of really like him because he's been in a lot of things that I really like he's been in Doctor Who, he's been in a couple of other British shows that I've seen and have been pretty like hilarious. And what I really liked him in and what I really remember him from is A Knight's Tale. He is one of the main character's best friends, and he does have that kind of bumbling, again, like silliness about him, but at the same time will get shit done if he has to. Will handle it. And that is Mark Addy. He's in a lot of different stuff. I think he's probably most well known for being in The Full Monty. That is a show that is on my list to watch because I haven't actually seen the movie. When it came out, I was a kid and that was not one of the movies that I would have been allowed to watch. But he's just been in a lot of great stuff and a lot of like TV stuff too. And yeah, I think as Sergeant Dobson, I think he would just be great at that. I could definitely see him. So those two, as the local constables, like, could totally see that. But those are, yeah, that's my fan cast, basically, for these characters, pretty much. Like I said, there's other people, like a couple other like shop owners within the town and a couple other servants that are around a lot in the Farley Stroud household that I haven't fully figured out who I would want to be in those places, but as far as like the main cast or like a lot of people that are recurring characters goes, these are the ones that I would like to see. Not that this show is ever going to happen, and not that any of these people will actually be part of it, because I think some of them might be a little too big for that. I don't know, but yeah, this is just my ultimate dream fan cast of the Lady Hardcastle series, which I do hope one day maybe someone will want to make, like, not like a movie perhaps, because I don't think I wouldn't want them to ruin it by trying to squeeze it all into like 2 hours or something. I want them to take like a series, like do either like a mini series or something, or an actual like series, like how Poirot and Miss Marple used to do like the whole series. I would want them to do that with the whole book series, like take an episode or two to handle a story per or something like that. I just think that would be like great and a lot of fun, because these books are a lot of fun and are hilarious and really cozy and pretty great and full of really interesting characters. So yeah, please, somewhere out there, consider making this. Anyway, that's my little thoughts about that. Also, you should read that series because it's a lot of fun, and I think the fall is moving into the winter is the perfect time to read cozy mysteries. And yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. If you are new here and would like to subscribe, please do so. I did have a little bit of a hiatus, but I promise I usually try to post videos every, well, lately it's been every couple of weeks, but I'm going to try to get back into the habit of doing it weekly, and really stay on that. So please subscribe if you would like to. And thank you guys so much for watching and for always watching. And I hope you're having a wonderful day or week or weekend or wherever you're at. See you next video.